Alright, so we got all the conduit run. We got our J-box up here and all the conduits going to these two completed as well. Now what we're doing is we're going to be pulling wires, black, white, and green through the conduit going this way, another pair through the conduit to the other plug down there. The switch is going to get 2 red wires, a black wire, and a green wire for a ground, and then the power, and then the 2 switch legs. And then these over here are going to get 2 reds. I'm sorry, each conduit will have a red, a white, and a green. The red, of course, being the switch leg. Then we're going to wire these in here, and I'm going to cut in a box underneath the soffit that we're going to use a piece of flex to connect back up to everything, and we should be good from there. So, fighting the daylight. Probably not going to get this finished tonight, but we're going to get hopefully at least the wires pulled in. So here we're going to be wiring the plug. A few tips for that. When you're using stranded wire like this, you're going to want to strip it back a little ways, probably about 2 inches back. Strip it maybe 3/4 to 1 inch off. But you don't want the insulation to come off the end, and I'll show you why in just a minute. So then what you're going to do is twist it to the left. You want the strands twisted to your left, instead of to the right like you were putting it under a wire nut, because this is going to be going under a screw. When you're turning the screw, it's actually going to pull these inward toward the screw instead of pushing the strands out like if it were twisted the other direction. This is a little trick that I've picked up over the years, and it has helped a lot. So what you're going to do when you're making this up, start with your ground. You're going to start at the bottom and wrap it up. This way, as you're tightening the screw in, it's going to be pulling this end toward you through the screw instead of backing the piece out. And then, as you can see there, it's pulling the strands inward as you tighten it down. So do the same thing with the neutral. Wrap that around. Tighten up this extra screw. And by keeping these pieces of insulation on the back, you ensure that loose strands are not going to come in contact with anything and short anything out. Do the same thing with the hot. Wrap that all the way around there. Nice and tight. Tighten down that extra screw. And we'll just put that in there with our swivel screwdriver. Get it started. And we'll get our cover put on. much all there is to it. Alright, so for the switches, we're actually going to do something a little different. As you can see, there's no white here. There's no neutral because it's not needed. I have a black, a green, and 2 reds. The reds are going to be my switch legs. Black is going to be power, and green is ground, of course. And I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to take this one and strip that 1/2 inch. Then I'm going to come down here a little further and strip another 1/2 inch. We do the same thing with the ground. Because what's going to happen with these, they're going to connect to both switches as continuous wire. Go ahead and give that a good twist. Wrap that around there. Same thing here. Wrap that in. We'll go ahead and do the same thing with the ground. And again, whenever you're wrapping the wire around the screw, you always want to go in the direction that the screw is going to turn as it's tightening. That'll ensure that as you tighten the screw down, it pulls the wires in instead of pushing them out. And then to finish off, we've got our switch legs, which when I bought the wire I didn't realize I was buying solid wire, but it is what it is. It actually made it a little bit easier to push this through the pipes. It's worth mentioning that the red wires are not going to actually have the piece of insulation sticking off the end, because with them being solid, I'm not too worried about the little strands getting off, because there aren't any. And then I just use a little hole in the strippers to bend them the weight that they need to be. Now, if you're ever wondering where the top or the bottom is on these, it actually says top on there. I know with these Decora switches, they're not labeled top, rather on or off, like they are the toggle switches, but that's how you can tell. Go ahead and get these in there. Just getting started. and get that weatherproof cover on there. These covers come with all sorts of different pieces and configurations you can use depending upon what type of plug you're putting in. If you're putting in a, dryer outlet or something like that, or something for a generator. But for this purpose, we're just doing switches. And just like with when I did the plugs, these actually need to come right back out. I'll normally just push them in place because that gets the wires seated about right, so that things are held a little better in place and don't move around too much as you're trying to put them in. But it is going to take a little bit of play to get everything in right. So the top two are lined up. Let's get the bottom two lined up. Just tighten it on in. There you have it. We're good.